First of all, I'll tell you a little secret about Facebook. We don't actually like press a lot. We don't like to be in the news, and we don't like to be out there in the open. I'm one of the same people. I've spent over 10 years in someone's rainforest, and someone's broken down city, broken down democracy, fighting terrorists, and chasing them through back alleys, right? That's my background. I was a special operations officer in the Army for over 15 years. With that said, I was tired of that life. And one day I said, I just want to look at lattes and kittens. I think I should go to Facebook. And I joined. But little did I know is when I jumped over there, if you have a calling, you have a calling. And I hate haters, and I hate terrorists. And I found a home here at Facebook to be doing the same thing. With that said, we're going to focus a little bit on how we at Facebook and some of the tech companies are looking at terrorism and countering violent extremism and some of the challenges that we have with that as well. Just a couple months ago, Facebook actually hit the 2 billion mark for monthly users, right? What most people don't realize is that those people don't speak English. They're not from the West necessarily. Most of that growth is in a foreign world, as we say, using foreign languages, right? They are not like people that we necessarily know, but that's where the growth is going to be. You'll see on there it's 1 billion photos shared daily. So you have an idea of the sheer amount of content that's running through Facebook, right? Mark Zuckerberg recently changed his goals. It was just connecting people, that's what he wanted to do. But now he's trying to focus on communities. And I'm sure that was prodded by some recent events in the last few months, where he's really focusing on what people are doing and what people are saying online. With that said, 2 billion users, we have community standards. We've always had community standards. We've been a little bit quiet about those, and there's for many reasons, but one of the big things we want to focus on here is that we have to cover so many areas, right? So we're looking at self-harm. We're looking at bullying and harassment. We're looking at hacked accounts, right? That's romance scams all the way down to more nefarious activity. We're also looking at sexual content and, of course, terrorism as well. So we have policies for each one of these items. What can be said? What can be posted? What can be responded? What photos are allowed? And focusing on terrorism, one thing, and Facebook owns Instagram as well, so that goes to our family of operations. We do not allow violent organizations on Facebook, just as a rule. They're not welcome, and there's no home for them here. Anyone who supports a violent organization or terrorist is also not allowed here. And anyone who's celebrating any of the actions that they do is not allowed. So example, if your name is Sarah Smith and you're a known terrorist, not allowed. You don't get a Facebook account, you don't get an Instagram account if we find out. If you're her friend and you're supporting what she does, we'll take down your post. And if you're someone who's not even associated and you're applauding the activity, your post will be removed, and after a while you're going to lose your account as well. Now, especially for the journalists in the room, they ask you, how the heck are you going to do that, right? How are you going to enforce that activity? And we've struggled with that, but we'll walk through a little bit about that. So again, I've been in a lot of places where I've seen failed democracies, failed corporations. So I don't want you to have a false sense that Facebook's going to save you from terrorism, right, or any of the tech companies. What I want to remind you about is that we're going to save ourselves, right? And so one of the big things is if you see it, you report it, right? So that's something that we keep telling people, is it's not you don't want to look back and be appalled by something, you want to report it. So we have active ways of doing that. Most people may have used it if someone tags you in a photo when you're out at the club, or if you're somewhere else and you don't like that, you report that, say take that photo down, etc. But you can do that for any item that you feel that should be reported through our tools. And we just want to make sure that you know that, because that's how we police on Facebook. It actually starts with the community, the people that are there. Internal to us, you'll see the community, but the other thing to note is that we have thousands of people that are actually looking at the content, and this is public posts necessarily. We do some things behind the scenes too for terrorists, but that's only for illegal activity. We're not here to really look at your post and what you're doing online, but they're looking at that activity. But the interesting thing is the machine learning. So with the advances in artificial intelligence, we're able to do a little bit more, and we're going to talk about that. One of the items that we're able to do is something called photo hashing. So it's a digital tag, a code that's put on a photo or a video. In this case, let's say it's a beheading video that's circulating in the Middle East, and we just saw it launch in the United States. We can put a digital code on that, and we'll track it. And so anytime that photo or video is trying to be uploaded, it immediately will be taken down, or if we catch it soon enough, it'll never be able to be uploaded. And we're working with our other companies, Microsoft, YouTube, Twitter, and even our rival Snapchat joined us, so we can share those hashtags with them too, so that information is just not proliferating online. The other item that's interesting is we see an account that is mimicking a terrorist account, so we took their account down and they tried to start a new one. We will use artificial intelligence as well, machine learning, to be able to identify how those accounts move, how they friend people on Facebook, and how they're trying to proliferate that hate, and we'll also take that down. So it's just going to be a constant learning for us within Facebook, but some of those cues are coming from the community when they're flagging items, so that's why that's really helpful as far as artificial intelligence. This is a point I would like to really focus on. I do not walk into a senior leadership room at Facebook and see people who look like me. I didn't do that when I was in the military in a senior room. They didn't look like me, and it wasn't always the case when I was in senior offices in government. But that's a good thing, because sometimes you want to have people who don't look like you at the table. And the reason why it's so important here at Facebook is the people who are making those decisions, what's hate speech? What groups are being attacked, right? If they're all look the same, talk the same, they don't recognize the subtle hate that's in some of the speech that's going on. And that's why you want people from those different varying groups inside. And so that's what we talk about, that we have people who have law enforcement backgrounds, some people have human rights, NGO backgrounds, and some people are just techies, right? We have international offices. They have to speak over 40 languages. And again, remember, our growth is not in the Western world. And it's a triage of review system. Sometimes we don't get it right? We don't always get it right, but we want to, and that's why we need your help. The thing that I really want to focus on here is we can spend all of our energy on the bad, which I do because I like it. I like to take down terrorists, but not everybody wants to do that, and so what I want to make sure that the community does is focus on positive. So there's people out there who are working on counter speech. That's a formal counter speech item, but it could be informal. The people like Cher, our friend Cher, who's doing the takedown, who's doing the slap back, right? Who's making sure that those voices of hate aren't there. This is an example of, his name is called the Average Muhammad, and what he does is he makes fun of jihadists and terrorists all day. Literally. So he is speaking in his authentic voice, in his authentic language, and in Arabic, and he just makes fun of them. We found that humor actually is one of the things that works really well in the Arabic language. If you ridicule or make fun of a terrorist, they kind of lose their power. And that's someone out there who's doing the counter speech. We've looked a little bit closer at some of that too, and we work with different partners as well who are doing that. Again, you want to have people who are doing this in their own tongue. So if you have companies or you're working at tech companies, again, that's where that diversity beat's really important, because you can't do this if you don't have diversity in your companies. Some of the other items that we found that were really interesting is the tone of speech as well. Again, it's not, I can't mimic it. I can't mimic a 14-year-old in Brazil. I can't mimic a 30-year-old in London, right? You need those tones of speech and tonality, again, hitting the diversity beat. We do peer-to-peer challenges. We go to colleges. We have them, they take a semester, and they just focus on a campaign. One group wrote rap music, and it was pretty good rap music. And they were not from the Bronx. They were from, it was from Lebanon, and it was some of the best rappers I had seen. Again, we work with groups who are just honestly better at doing this than us. They've been doing it for a really long time. This counterspeech.facebook.com is our website. It has a lot more of the detail that I wasn't able to provide here, but you can see that it covers everything from some of the resources we have to be able to do this. We have NGO trainings if people are interested in doing that. We do hackathons every now and then to really get after like what are we getting wrong and how can we do better. And we're constantly working on our counter speech. And again, I just want to really just remind the group, like, we're not going to save you, your institutions aren't going to save you, like, we are going to save ourselves, right? So, thank you.